being raised primarily in an all-Black community and then going to an all-white college, I lost sight of the person I was up until I was 18. I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong. And in doing that, unfortunately, I trended toward being a go along to get along, a people pleaser, just wanting to fit in. And I carried that with me a number of years until I eventually did some work on assertiveness. I did my research on authenticity. But I say one of those barriers or obstacles was just identity and falling back in love with who I am, understanding who I am, and then believing in the person that I am. So you add that with single parent family. My parents were divorced when I was 11. I saw my father again when I was 25 at his mother's funeral. And then I saw my father again when I was 35. And then summer, when I was 39, my dad and I decided we're going to get together and talk about the way things were and the way they can be going forward. May 9th, 1999, Mother's Day, we were going to talk. Well, that morning, I got a call from my brother who said, sit down, I want to talk. I'm like, I'm getting ready for church. He said, sit down. This better be important. Well, he called to tell me that our father had a heart attack and died.
Hey everybody, I'm back with another episode of So What Success Stories. And today I have the privilege and the pleasure of talking to one of my NSA, this National Speakers Association buddies, Dr. James Smith Jr. Now, Dr. James is president and CEO of Dr. James Smith Jr., name of his company. He is a speaker, an author, an educator, and a coach. And I beg to say a lot more, a whole lot more. He has been awesome. He's also a mentor and a friend to me. So Dr. James, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, first of all, it's summertime. I want to say the privilege and the pleasure is all mine. I know you said it's yours, but it's all mine too. But thank you for having me here. You mentioned that I'm a speaker, author, educator, coach. West Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground where I spent most of my days. You know, I used to sing that song with pride, but after the slap, I don't sing it too often. But born and raised in Philly, public school, educated, undergrad, Widener University, master's, Temple University, doctorate, Temple University. After college, I had a few pro football tryouts. It didn't work out, so I took my degree in English and went to the corporate world and just had an amazing up and down journey up until now. I'm a father of 4, actually 2 I inherited. I don't call them my stepchildren, I call them my bonus children. And I have 2 children that I brought into this world, Ian and Daisha. My blessing is that one of my blessings, my bonus son and my biological son are both on the autistic spectrum. They both are nonverbal. So I'm a speaker with 2 sons who are nonverbal. And that has humbled me and really poured into my career to really reach and connect with people.
That's amazing that you shared that. And I know we're going to get into that. We'll get into that some more. Okay, Dr. James. So first of all, I'm super, super excited to be doing this interview with you because now I guess I've known you. These years go by fast. It's hard to keep up. But you were one of the people that when I first met you at an NSA conference at Influence, I immediately was drawn to you. And I've learned so much from you intentionally talking to me and teaching me, and then also from me just observing you. I'm honored that I also got an opportunity to speak for you.
And you dropped the mic,
I'm learning from the best. And it's just been a privilege and a pleasure. And I'm excited to get into your story. So in this program, I have what I call the So What Success System. It's my belief that anyone, absolutely anyone, can be successful if they learn how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate their choices. They can have so what success. And Dr. James, you have definitely been and demonstrated that you are so what success man. But let's first talk about obstacles. What are some of the obstacles that you've had to overcome to be successful?
Mm, I don't know if we have enough time to talk about the myriad obstacles, but I'll share a few. One was around self-esteem and identity. Um, Being raised primarily in an all Black community and then going to an all white college, I lost sight of the person I was up until I was 18. I just wanted to fit in. I wanted to belong. And in doing that, unfortunately, I trended toward being a go along to get along, a people pleaser, just wanting to fit in. And I carried that with me a number of years until I eventually did some work on assertiveness. I did my research on authenticity. But I say one of those barriers or obstacles was just identity and falling back in love with who I am, understanding who I am, and then believing in the person that I am. So you add that with single parent family. My parents were divorced when I was 11. I saw my father again when I was 25 at his mother's funeral. And then I saw my father again when I was 35. And then summer, when I was 39, my dad and I decided we're going to get together and talk about the way things were and the way they can be going forward. May 9th, 1999, Mother's Day, we were going to talk. Well, that morning, I got a call from my brother who said, sit down, I want to talk. I'm like, I'm getting ready for church. He said, sit down. This better be important. Well, he called to tell me that our father had a heart attack and died that morning. So we never got closure. So getting through that was an obstacle as well. And that's one of the reasons why I now use Junior at the end of my name. My father is James Smith Sr. And prior to his death, I never used my Junior. So using Junior is my way of keeping him with me because he taught me what to do and he taught me what not to do based on his behaviors and how he showed up. My dad was two people. One, charismatic, fun-loving, life of every party. Two, an alcoholic who liked to get physical and put his hands on my mom. And that's the reason why they divorced. So those were two major obstacles that have impacted my personal life and my professional life. And if you want a professional obstacle, just dealing with corporate and the lack of meritocracy and the lack of fairness that's afforded to people from underrepresented groups. So those were several of the obstacles that I have overcome on this journey called life.
Wow, and those are major. Now, you talked about dealing with identity and self-esteem issues, and that's a big one. And that really, but in my own research and the work that I do, that's the core or even the foundation for being successful.
Yeah.
For learning how to deal with life and achieving your goals is understanding who you are and believing in yourself. And so, Dr. James, I know your PhD is in authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
and I've seen some of your presentations on authenticity, and it's powerful. You're definitely one of the most intelligent men I know. Talk a little bit about that work, and how you were able to deal with self-esteem and overcome those obstacles, so that everybody's watching this can see how they can do that too.
Well, one of the reasons I did the research was because of what I was dealing with. And as I continued to grow throughout corporate and began to do professional development workshops and leadership sessions and diversity sessions, I would oftentimes hear people say, I'm one way at home and I'm one way at work. Or, don't say anything because it'll come back to bite you. I go along to get along. And people truly believe that. So I heard that and thought about my journey of people pleasing and trying to fit in. So I did my research and I learned, and I thought going in that authenticity was a matter of either or. You're either authentic or not, authentic or inauthentic. But through my research, I've come to realize that there are degrees of authenticity. It's around more or less. I'm either more authentic or less authentic. Because I don't tell you what I did on vacation and because I didn't tell you who I went with, doesn't mean I'm being inauthentic. I'm just not giving you everything that you may want. And the researchers who say that people can't be consistently authentic say this. a piece of jewelry, a rug, a painting, they're all authentic because they're not changing. But as people, we evolve every day. So we may be authentic in that moment, but it doesn't necessarily mean we're authentic all the time. And that was enriching to learn. And some people's authenticity is unfathomable, is off the chart, where it becomes where it's unappreciated, it's not liked. It's, suppose I'm an authentic narcissist or an authentic sexist. Those aren't appreciated. So we have to, in being the best version of ourselves, have to adhere to the world's norms, the corporate mores, where we're not violating those principles. But the more we are the best versions of ourselves, we're going to be lighter, we're going to be happier, we have our values, our line in the sand is never erased. This is what we stand for. And when we get to that place, someone's opinion of us does not have to be our reality. Our opinion is what's most important.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so I have to have you elaborate on these as well. Coming from a single parent household and learning to forgive your father. And you said it, and you said you overcame those obstacles. But I know from my own experience with both of them, honestly, that those are major. Those are major. Talk about some of the ways that you've been able to overcome those obstacles and forgive your father and to move on and to be a man growing up in a single mother household without your father. Talk about that a little bit.
A couple things. When, wow, I'm getting emotional. When I went to the funeral home to see his body, I lost it. I lost it because although I had only seen him 3 times over 20 plus years, this was final. I was never going to see him again. My dad had written in his will that he wanted to be cremated. So I remember being at the funeral, being near the furnace, and his coffin or his box was there, and he was in the box. I put my pocket square in his pocket. I took my tie off and wrapped it around his neck. And I was charged with pulling the lever. And as his body was heading toward the fire, I forgave. I forgave. That's when I said I'm going to use my junior. I know at age 11 is when my parents divorced, but as I got older, I could have found him and we could have had conversations before them. My bitterness prevented that. So after his death, I really started thinking about what he did for me, pro and con. I wouldn't be a speaker today if it wasn't for him. I have the charisma that he had, the funniness that he has. He poured that into me. And I love wine like everyone else. And I'm very mindful of how much I do drink, because if I'm drinking too much, I think about my dad. So he's still encouraging me from afar. But the forgiveness came with, listen, Jesus has been forgiving me all my life. Who am I not to forgive someone? So that, coupled with the remorse and the distance, I vowed that I'm going to be the consummate father, where I'll always be near my children. Now, I've been divorced, and my daughter is my best friend. Her mother and I divorced when she was 7. But we're like this, always make sure that I'm close to her. And your other question was being raised in a single parent family. I believe I have, you say guys aren't emotional, guys don't talk, they don't share what's on their heart, their mind. Well, being raised by a woman, I do that. So you're going to know what's on my heart. You're going to know what's on my mind. I probably talk more than I should because my mom talked more than she should. But I certainly picked up a lot of her characteristics. But she was tough love. She poured into me. She always said, attack the world, be first, sit in the front seat, raise your hand, don't fall in line, start your own line. So she really wore both hats. And I feel as though I was raised by 2 parents.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's definitely look salute to her because I know how tough it is being a single mom, and I know she's super proud of you and the man that you became.
Summer,
And
she is. Here's one for you. I attended K through 12 without missing a day of school. She would not let me miss a day of school. Even in 10th grade, when I broke my ankle playing football, went to the hospital, got casted up. She said, take a taxi, you're going to school. My 4 years of undergrad, never missed a class because she's still in my head. Get there, get there. She would say, don't give them bullets. They already have guns. And by bullets, she means don't give them excuses to hold you back. Don't give them excuses not to give you the promotion. Don't be late, show up, be there, all in. That's still Nancy Smith. My last book is called The No Excuse Guide to Success, no matter what your boss or life throws at you. She could have wrote that book. No excuses.
I love it. I love it. And but I have to salute you too for listening, for receiving, because I mean, in real, just being very, very honest, there are people, mothers and fathers who instill that or try to instill that, and the young person is not open to listening. And so it's very important. That's part of the reason why I do this is because so that people can listen. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you talk about listening. I remember when I was 14, I was going to run away. And she said, what time you leave? I'm going to help you pack.
I got it. I get it.
You're not going to be sad I'm leaving. She said, I don't know where you're going, but how many bags you going to need?
Let me help you. I've done that before.
Oh, so you did it too.
I get it, but it's so important, and that's why hopefully someone watching this, a single mom, can be encouraged, or a young person who's watching this, maybe they're raised by a single parent, or maybe they're not raised by a single parent, to understand the importance of listening and receiving that, because look where you are today. So the next part of the Soul Success system is eliminating excuses. Now, you just talked about being a product of a single parent household, raised without your father. And even having, hurt, I'm sure, from not having your father there. What are some of the excuses that maybe you made, or some of the ones that you immediately eliminated so that you can get to where you are today?
Well, I blamed him. I blamed the white university I attended. I blamed corporate. But when I began to own my choices, own my circumstances, things began to shift. The 8 words I use when things are going awry is, what are you going to do about it? So when I'm going through it, rather than blaming my situation, blaming the pandemic, blaming my boss, what am I going to do about it? One of my favorite quotes is that when we're young, we look a lot like our parents. But when we get older, we look a lot like our choices. So what am I choosing during this circumstance? And yes, I did make a lot of excuses, but by writing that book, I said, I'm putting the target on me. I'm the no excuse guy, so I better stop making these excuses. But I believe it's around ownership, mindset, and we know where we live. We live in a country that's not fair to people from underrepresented groups. We know that. It's not fair relative to gender. Men still get paid more money than women to do the same. We know the landscape. So what are we going to do about it? We got to step up. We got to step up. We got to give them something to talk about, not whine, complain, moan. If our lives are movies, who's starring in it? Me. Who's directing it? Me. Who's writing the script? Me. Who's dealing with the drama? Me. Who's dealing with the good guys and the bad guys? It's me. It's my movie, my life GPS. So I have to take control in spite of what's going on around me.
I love it. And you know what you just said too, right? That I love. You basically said, so what? And when you say, what are you going to do about it? And I got 3 words that say the same thing. So now what? So now what? How are you going to move forward? And you definitely have done that. And so the next part of the Soul Success system is calculating choices. And you alluded to choices. And I love that saying. I've definitely heard that quote is when you're born, you look like your parents. And when you die, you look like your choices. Absolutely. Talk about some of the calculated choices you've made on your journey.
Absolutely. Remember when I was in college, I had called my coach, my high school coach, Steve Kane, Jewish man, and I called him to talk about what I felt was happening at school. I thought I should have been starting on the football team as a freshman, but I chilled. Sophomore, I thought I should have been, and I was behind this guy, and I called him saying, I'm going to transfer. This place is racist and all this. And he said, no, 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 no. This is preparing you for the real world. Stay there. Stop focusing on starting. Focus on being the best possible football player you can be. So I chose to stay. Fast forward, I'm in corporate, and I thought I should be promoted a number of times, and things weren't working out well. I was in the marketing department, management, focusing on management, internship, but things weren't working. I had a good friend who decided to leave the company and go back and pursue her master's. She was working in human resources training and development. And she said, if you're not happy in your role, you may want to think about getting into training and development. So I chose to leave marketing, which no one does, because marketing is catch me out, the marketing. And I went to HR to be an HR trainer. And that's when I found my love of training and speaking. So by choosing to leave the coveted marketing role to go to HR to be a corporate trainer, that played a key role in me finding my sweet spot. And even after 14 years in corporate, achieving the level of vice president, things were going well. My company was acquired by another organization. And I took that opportunity to get my 6 months severance, 6 months benefits, leave the company, and start my own business. Another choice. My mom said, you crazy, you're a vice president. You got an office overlooking City Hall, downtown Philly. Don't do it, baby. And now she's like, my son owns his own company.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I definitely can relate to that because I worked at FedEx, and people don't leave FedEx, that it is still a great company. And it was the same thing when I made that choice. So and yeah, I got to shout out marketing because that was my start too, was in marketing. But I love it. It's like sometimes you got to do something that is, in both examples you gave, something that is uncomfortable, or that other people may not understand, or that people actually think that, are you crazy?
Yes. And when that happens, I know I'm doing something that's right, because Summer, you know, when you get to a place of confidence and perspective, you see things that other people don't see. It's like the Matrix, Neo, you see what they don't see. And I get that a lot. I tell people I'm going to do this. No, you're crazy. Don't do that. Don't do that. I do it.
So grateful. I'm smiling and thinking I'm so grateful to be connected to people like you who understand when this mind starts doing its crazy things, it's gonna work, it's gonna be good, it's gonna be good.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So okay, you definitely have proven that you are so what success means. You know how to overcome obstacles, eliminate excuses, and calculate choices. And you've only talked about a few obstacles, excuses, and choices. I know you have a ton more, but you've proven that you've been successful in spite of all the obstacles. But what is your personal definition of success?
Having a wonderful relationship with J&J, Jesus and Joy. When you have that relationship, that understanding, no one can shake your boat. No one can make you unravel. The pandemic can't shut down your business because you have Jesus and Joy. And if you have those, you're not relying on your own understanding because you're relying on the teachings of Jesus. And we know that the world can take your happy, but the world can't take your joy. You get fired, you might be unhappy, but you still have that joyful spirit. So for me, whether it's personal, professional. Like I said, I've been married, I've been divorced, I've been hired, I've been fired, I've been promised a promotion and taken back. I have felt and experienced racism, still do. But in spite of all that, I believe I am successful because I have my joy and I have my Jesus, and I will have those until he calls me home.
And one last question for you. Now, you've given lots of advice throughout the entire interview, but what's one piece of advice you would leave everyone who's watching this with? Someone who wants to be successful, however they define success, but they have obstacles. They have obstacles. What's one piece of advice that you would, or one additional piece of advice you would give?
When you see obstacles going forward, turn those obstacles into opportunities. When you see problems going forward, turn those problems into possibilities. You are your own life's GPS. It's about personal accountability and personal responsibility. And every day when you wake up and every day when you go to sleep, before you go to sleep, say, I am a leader. I am strong. I am powerful. I am resourceful. I am resilient. I am, and so what are our cousins? They're married. And I know we've been talking a lot about me and my story. It's all relative, Summer, because your story is compelling and amazing. And I'm just honored to be here and share a few words.
I love it. I love it. So my story led me to you and your story. And I hope that, and I know, I don't hope. I know that people will be blessed by your story. So many amazing things. And I'm excited to be in your world. I'm excited to have you in my world. Dr.
Drums,
James.
please. Summertime.
We back to Philly, are we? Shout out to Willsville. We gotta go give him a shout out. We shut him out twice. That's my song. That's my song. This was amazing. You're amazing, and I appreciate you taking the time to share just a little bit of your journey with people in my world. Look, I'll see you in Orlando.
Orlando in July. Woo, hot outside.
Thank you, Dr. James.
Bye-bye. See y'all.